Hi, I was just putting together a lesson for stress and the language of stress and idioms to do with stress. And I thought it would be useful to do a short recording about an example of a time when I've had to deal with stress and some actual real ways that might help people when they encounter stress in their life or the way they're working. So I was thinking a specific time for me was because obviously in business you're dealing with stress all the time. In many jobs you're dealing with stress all the time. And so you have to develop ways to deal with it. And I've developed ways of saying things to myself to get myself through it, reminding myself, everything passes, everything is always kind of almost seasonal. You go through a period of stress, you go through a period of calm. And if anything, I always think of calm now as the periods between stressful situations. And there's the expression or the saying, it always gets darkest just before dawn. So I tell myself that when I'm in a very difficult situation. But it made me think about when I was in a super stressful situation for me at the time during COVID. Now, I know many people had very, very stressful situations, a lot more stressful than mine. But I was just thinking about me personally and how I dealt with that. And so I was in Brazil at the time, and I had my English school. And so I was in a foreign country trying to build a business up. And when COVID first happened, I remember thinking it's just a weekend inconvenience. All the businesses originally were told in Brazil to shut for 3 days. So I remember speaking to the council saying, surely this doesn't apply to me, my English school. And they were like, no, everyone has to shut. And so I closed and then very, very quickly realized that actually this was something that did not have an end date. So I had to come up over that first weekend very rapidly with a way where I could keep the business open legally and keep the teachers employed, keep the students learning. And so that was a very stressful time for me to try and work out a way where I could take a physical, quite a lot of students, a physical school into an online school. And nowadays that seems very, very simple because of everything that's happened post-COVID in terms of technology and platforms. And it's perfectly normal now to study online. But at the time it was not. So I had to kind of come up with a lot of very quick brainstorming and get the teachers buy-in and get the students buy-in from that. So I thought about some specific ways that people could deal with stress that don't involve overeating or binge drinking. And there's obviously the ways like going to the gym. That's one that I've built into my daily routine now to try and deal with stress. But that's not everyone's cup of tea. So I've put together 5 ways that you can deal in real terms, where you can deal with stress, and hopefully they're useful. So the first way that I came up with, for those who've watched some of my other videos, you know that I love very simple processes that are repeatable and easy to remember. So this one is the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 method. So I'm just going to check I get it right. So basically the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, what you're going to do is about grounding yourself and kind of rebalancing yourself from the stressful situation. So number 5, what you're going to do is you're going to list 5 things that you can see. Okay, so you've got to be specific. So you're going to look around you and you're going to say 5 things you can see right now. So I can see a speaker, I can see a cell phone, I can see my laptop, I can see my computer, whatever it is. Then you're going to do 4 things that you can feel. And that's in relation to what you're touching or feeling. So you could say, I feel the chair against my back. I feel the carpet under my feet. I feel the pressure of the armrest against my arm. So you're going to list 4 things that you can feel. So 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear. So then you're going to listen and you're going to see, can I hear a car? Can I hear birds? Can I hear the whirring of my computer? Then you're going to go for 2 things you can smell. This one can be tricky. So if you can't smell anything immediately, like if you can't smell, I don't know, if you've just washed your hands, the soap, then feel free to grab a coffee, smell the coffee, something like that. And then one thing that you can taste. And again, if you can't taste anything, you might pop a sweet in your mouth or have a sip of coffee, have a taste of water even, but something you can taste. Okay, so to recap, you're going to do 5 things you can see, 4 things you can feel, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, 1 thing you can taste. Okay, so that just stops your brain from racing all over the place, helps you center yourself, helps you reground. Okay, next thing that is useful is going for a walk. So a very good friend of mine told me this when it was just after COVID and working from home, and he said, "Yeah, just go for a walk." So he'd started going for a walk, I think around his parents' house and then in the city. And so I tried that, and yeah, absolutely, a 30-minute walk, just clearing your mind, really, really helps. I guess depending where you live, it could be more peaceful than other places, but yeah, it's very good. Okay, another one is called box breathing. Now, this one's used by athletes, Navy SEALs. It's a very good way, and again, very simple, involves numbers, which I like, of calming yourself down. So this one is the box breathing method. And all you're going to remember is 4, 4, 4, 4. So what you're going to do is you're going to imagine drawing a box in your mind. Okay, and each line of the box is a 4 seconds. So what you're going to do is the first line is an inhale line. So you're going to breathe in, you're going to 1, 2, 3, 4 when you inhale. The second line is hold. So you're going to hold 1, 2, 3, 4. The third line at the bottom is the exhale. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4. You're exhaling. And then the last line you're holding. And again, that's 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can do that 3 or 4 times, basically. So you're going to draw the box 3 or 4 times, depending how stressed you are. So the reason this works, it's to do with it activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is the bit rest and digest state. It slows your heart rate down, lowers your cortisol, which is the stress hormone, increases the oxygen to your brain, so it gives you clearer thinking, and it helps you to regain control during stressful moments. So if you're in a very stressful situation, people might see you drawing a box. They'll understand why if they've watched this. So that's another way. Okay, then another way, you can talk it out. So you can get things off your chest just by talking to good friends, family, people you trust. And nowadays, I think we've even got ChatGPT you can chat to, but just getting it out. And some people like journaling. That's another way where you can just write it down. There's a great way I've heard, which I believe was called journal shredding. So basically what you do is you write down the frustrations, all of your frustrations, you write them on a piece of paper. What's frustrating you, why it's frustrating you, like how it's making you feel. You write it all down and then you shred it or you burn it or you screw it up and get rid of it. And it's just a way of actually getting it down, all the things that are really bugging you or really stressing you out, and then just get rid of them, let it go. And that's a really nice way of dealing with stress, I think. And then the last one, where you are able, is to draw a line, set boundaries. So try and work out, identify, is this area of stress something you can control? Are there any elements of control there? Because often stress is to do with the fact you're not in control, basically, in my experience. So try and identify, even if you can't control the whole thing, which probably you can't because that's why you're stressed, what areas can you control? If you can't control them, what areas can you influence? And if you can't do any of that, can you just take a break? Can you set a boundary and say, no, I'm not going to do this? Or just take a break from it and say, right, I need 15 minutes or I need 20 minutes or 30 minutes for a walk or something where that's reasonable. So these are some ways I found of dealing with stress, but I will be very interested if you have any others or to know your thoughts on these, or if you use any of these, let me know. So write them in the comments, and yeah, very interested to see what people think. All right, excellent. I hope you have a wonderful week, all of you.